This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, compulsively punchable.
He's the kind of guy who you'd probably just punch on the arm really hard if you ever met him.
Worshipped by feminists.
He pokes fun at feminism and women, just joking around, his whole sandwich making thing.
Mildly inspiring.
Yes, I recommend the Ben Settle Show, and anybody who isn't on it, that's their own loss.
Somewhat authentic.
Ben is a very distinct personality. There's no fluff. I can't stand fluff.
Syrupy sweet.
Tells it like it is, and sometimes may not be the most polite manner, shall we say.
Kind of useful.
So I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and masterminds, and I've learned more from Ben Settle's podcast than from any of that.
Semi-intelligent.
Ben sounds like a crazy guy at times, but he's one of the smartest individuals in marketing I've ever met.
Mostly forgettable.
He's always in the forefront of my mind.
The bensettle.com podcast begins now.
This is Ben Settle of bensettle.com. So I opened a loop. I opened a loop last week.
Your loop is open.
Fruit Loop. I opened a loop last week. I opened a loop. I don't know why I like saying that, dude. I opened a loop like it's some mysterious thing. Okay, so I opened a loop saying that I would talk about this idea of principles versus tactics. And that's what I'm going to do this week. So I didn't want to get into it too much last week because I just wanted to get people walk through the process of what it takes to get to be unconscious competent stage. And I'm not going to reiterate all of that. If you haven't heard it, you just simply go back and listen to the last show. I don't think it lasted more than 16, 17 minutes maybe. But this whole idea is something that I don't see a lot of people, I don't really see anybody talking about it. In fact, the whole idea that I've learned this all from this guy named Jim Camp. Now, Jim Camp died a couple of years ago. He was known as the world's most feared negotiator when he was alive. He used to negotiate huge $500 million deals and that sort of thing. And he coached thousands of people on how to do this sort of thing. Everything from how to get a job or an internship. Like he was talking in his book, he talked about how he helped someone get an internship at the White House, like on the first meeting and all that, using negotiation stuff, all the way up to helping the FBI and giant, boardroom type deals and all that. He's a master at it. He had a system of negotiation that was just, it's unlike anything I've ever seen or heard. And it's not like I've seen that many, but it's not tactic based. Most of the negotiation stuff I see is tactic based. Again, I don't have a problem with tactics. I just think they should be used within certain principles. Otherwise, you're just throwing them out there and you don't understand why you're using them, why they work. I've been basically studying this guy for 9 years now, but going on 9 years now, nonstop. It's specifically an interview that Michael Senoff did with him. It's only lasted an hour and 20 minutes, but it's one of the most educational hour and 20 minutes you'll ever see. If you want to listen to it, I think it's free on his site. It was the last time I checked at hardtofindseminars.com. Just look up Jim Camp and you'll find it. He may actually not be giving that free anymore. I don't know. I think it's worth lots of money personally, but I listen to it regularly now, Jonathan. Whenever I'm walking my dog and stuff, I often, probably once, 2 or 3 times a month, I'll listen to this.
Wow.
thing. It's just, to me, it's just so good. It's so deep. And his book, No, I've been reading it nonstop since last summer. This is one of the books I'm going to read 10 times before I'm done with it. Because that's what I like to do. When I want to learn something and get a deep knowledge of something, I'm going to read or go through a product or informational product 10 times at least. And, that's what I'm doing with Jim's book. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. The book is called No. That's the title of the book. No, the only negotiation system you need for work and home or something like that. And it's all about no. You want people to tell you no. We'll do a whole podcast just on this, Jonathan, now that I think about it. There's a lot of power in getting people to tell you no. It's the weirdest thing, but it's how you get honesty out of people, is by getting them to tell you no, or trying to get them to tell you no. It's very interesting, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his thing with principles versus tactics. He told a story in that interview with Michael about when he was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. He was taught that, for pilots at least, that a principle or a rule overrides a tactic. It's more important than tactics. It's more vital to your survival than a tactic. It doesn't mean you can't use tactics. It's just that everything comes from principles first. Principles override tactics. And this is something that applies to marketing, in so many different ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you something, Jonathan. I'm going to read you a little bedtime story here.
Okay.
I printed this out. This was a discussion that went on in my elBenbo's Lair Facebook group. And basically it went like this. There's a guy who I call tactic seeking guy. That's kind of what I named him in this. I write about this in the January email players issue, actually. So email players, subscribers listening to this have already read what I'm about to read you. But if you're not an email player subscriber, this will probably be new to you. So this will illustrate exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to business. So tactic seeking guy wrote this. So I'm kind of racking my brain right now. Right now, I have just created a story-based email that will be sent out to my list that asks them to click a link if they are interested in creating a marketing funnel with daily emails, etc. I also mentioned if they click the link, then only those who clicked will only receive these emails on that topic, etc. It's basically all one big promotion for Todd Brown's, and then he had this funnel product he was selling as an affiliate. Anyway, I want to then temporarily segment them for a couple emails, Andre Chaperone style, but I am having a really hard time coming up with the emails to send these segmented people. So I don't know if that makes sense to everyone listening, but basically he's trying to figure out 3 to 5 emails here that he can send. Ideally, I want my emails to flow with each other into one big storyline or something over the course of 3 to 5 emails until they are taken back to the house list. See, right here, he's already way too tactic focused. It's not that that's a bad idea to do the story and all that, but he's coming at it from a tactical point of view. He doesn't really give a reason why he wants to do this. It's just, I heard it's a cool way to do it. That's what I get out of it. And there's nothing against this guy, by the way. I'm not trying to make fun of him or anything because he's trying to learn, so it's all good. So then he goes, any recommendations? Should I do 4 emails and something along the lines of 1, email number 1, present a problem. Email number 2, agitate the problem. Email number 3, present the solution. Email number 4, one last email on fear of loss or something to those who have not clicked the affiliate link. See, again, all tactic.
Yeah.
Everything he's doing there is tactic based. There's no principles behind this. It's like, do I agitate? Do I present a solution? Do I do a fear of loss? That's all very tactical. It's pure tactics. Again, these are not bad tactics to use, but you have to use them within a system that makes sense. So to continue. Now, that was a long question, okay? And so hopefully you're all still following me right now on this. Here was my equally long-winded answer. So you ready, Jonathan?
Ready.
My long-winded answer to that? You're making this way too complicated.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic. To which tactic-seeking guy, and by the way, I'm not trying to mock him or anything with that name. It's just that's what I wrote down, so whatever. He is true. I'm just following Andre's autoresponder madness product. I know it's not your cup of tea, as I have read in your emails when I believe you responded to something asking Ben or Andre or something like that. Anyways, the automation or anything isn't the hard part. I just wanted to hear a few options on what type of emails I should write to people who have already raised their hand for specific interest in a product. First of all, I have to correct him on something here. I'm a big fan of Andre. Okay, so I'm not against his methods at all. It's not really what I like to do. It's, I have a different approach than he does, but he works within principles first. But I think people go through Andre's stuff. This is just my guess, by the way. I can't tell you because I don't know that many people necessarily that have gone through a system, because I tend to attract a different kind of customer than him, which is interesting. There's not a lot of people who have both of our stuff. Let's put it that way. He definitely works within a principle-based thing. Andre is a very kind of an interesting personality where I've hung out with him, and I've hung out with him a lot, actually. Jonathan, you got to hang out with him with me, if I remember correctly. If you remember correctly, you all got to hang out with him. But he's a very interesting personality, and he attracts the he's kind of, I hate to use this word because it's so overused, but he's kind of got the rock star personality, or at least persona, I should say. Actually, his personality, he's not rock star at all. He's very, he's even more introverted than I am, and doesn't talks less than I do around people and stuff. But his persona and his marketing, he's brilliantly done this. Where I think the people that he attracts tend to be tactic first type people, because he's got some cool stuff. Andre's system is very sexy. I don't know if you've ever gone through it, Jonathan. His methods are very sexy. And so people probably look at that stuff and they just pick that out, and they're not looking at the principles that he's trying to teach it. That would be my guess, just because I have seen people write like what Tactic Guy here is doing. I've seen this many, many times when people talk about both of our stuff. And so that's my guess.
I think, Ben, that it might be the idea. It's more like an engineering type of thing with Andre's deal, because it's like, here is the structure, here's this, and what you're showing us. And what I like better is the freedom of just telling stories and just, attaching your product at the end. But I think people are looking for that paint by numbers, and Andre sort of offers that.
Yeah, I think so too. And he does a great job at it. And you know what? There needs to be someone out there doing that, because God knows I don't do that. So, and there are people who just need constant, they need I had a friend, this guy in the business where I haven't talked to him in a while, Roger Heska. Hasty,
Yeah.
I forget how to say his last name. He's admitted to me many times, because Ben, I wish you would systematize stuff more, because he needs that. Some people really need that. And you and me and the people that I cater to, we don't. Well, I mean, I still give people steps, but I don't hold anyone's hand.
It's not rigid, though.
It's not rigid at all. And it's like I give you a blueprint for a house, but you can build it however the hell you want.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Like, I'm not going to tell you have to do it a certain way. But so anyway, so I got off track here. That never happens. So then I replied to him, it's not Andre's system that's the problem. Which is because it has nothing to do with it. I mean, I see what he's trying to do, but Andre's system's fine. It's solid. If you knew your list and market better, you wouldn't even have to ask these questions. That's what I told him. So he says, fair enough. And then I end the discussion with this. It all comes down to them and their pains and problems. If you go at this tactically like you're doing, it's just making it harder on yourself. Let me give you an example. Right now, and this was back in June or July, I think, or maybe it was May or June or July, sometime back then. Right now, I'm writing emails to promote Danny Eney's course Builders product, which, if you know Danny Eney, he does nothing but really good products. He's solid, one of the best people I know in this business. I'm not, and I did, so he's one of the few people I'll even be an affiliate for. I don't really like doing affiliate stuff, and I don't do launch, but I'm going to get off track here for a second, Jonathan, because there's something I want to say. There's something I need to tell the people the few people who would actually care about this, and that's people who always asking me to mail for them and all this and be involved in their launch and all this. First of all, I'd rather sell my own stuff. So right out the gate, I don't want to sell anybody else's stuff. And that's just how it is. If I do sell somebody else's stuff, it's because I already know them and I'm interested in their product. And it's not to do with commissions and all that. I mean, all that's nice. But the reality is it's got to be something I want to promote because I want my list to really have it. And Danny Eney's, one of the best out there with course building and that sort, and building an audience. And so I like his stuff. Plus, that guy knows how to run an affiliate program pretty much better than anyone I've ever seen. So I'm only saying this because even Danny Eney, who I'm a huge fan for and have lots of respect for, even I won't mail for his launches. He wanted me to mail for the launch they have going. I think it's going on right now, actually. He's got this new course builders thing, which I'm sure is an excellent product. There's no question about it. But I told him I don't do big launches anymore. Not as an affiliate, because there's too many people getting paid on my work, and I don't like it. These tracking systems are not even close to being. They're not as accurate as they should be. Let's put it that way. I had this happen a couple times with a couple big launches where I did a lot of work, and I know for a fact that my emails are making other people's sales because it wasn't being tracked properly, and because people would even come up and tell me this. I had a guy, for example, who didn't even know, who just bought because of the bonuses I was offering, basically. He wanted the bonuses. He didn't even know who the publisher of the product I was selling was. He didn't even know who he was. He's not in that industry, nothing from that. And yet, one of that guys, the person who won the so-called affiliate contest, this customer got an email from them welcoming them to, to their world, thanks for being a customer. I made the sale. This customer did not know who these people were from Adam. Somehow they got credit for my sale. And this happened. This was only a few people we actually heard from. So that happened at least 4 or 5, I think, people that we actually heard from. Because I did this with Shane Hunter and Eric McMillan and Jeff Stevens. We kind of did this as a joint venture thing. And, they just, for everybody you do hear from, there's probably several people who aren't even telling you. So ever since then, I'm like, no more launch stuff. I don't need it. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm not into making other people's sales. I'm not going to do it. So what I told Danny was I would be happy to sell this product later. After you've launched it, which I'm going to do, I believe in April or May coming up. So, but it's going to be doing it when it's just me and no one else is going to get paid on my hard work. And so anyway, I don't know if anybody really cares or if anyone I just know there are people listening to this show who actually want me to mail for them and they wonder why I'm such a prick about it. Well, now you have some ideas why. So anyway, let me repeat what I was starting to read there before I interrupted my own train of thought. It all comes down to them and their pains and problems. If you go at this tactically like you're doing, it's just making it harder on yourself. Let me give you an example. Right now, I'm writing emails to promote Danny Eney's course builders product. I'm not asking, should I agitate them? I'm not asking, do I need to present a solution? I'm not asking, should I put some fear of loss? I'm not asking any of that. I'm looking at the people on my list and saying, okay, there are MLMers here. What challenges do they face related to this product? And then the same with affiliate marketers, copywriters, and everyone else that makes up the bulk of my list. And then I go and give some self-props here, Jonathan, which is going to surprise you. I say, shit, I should be charging for this info. I'm going to go into way more detail with examples of this with a future email players issue. My short brain fart above isn't even scratching the first molecule of the surface of this, and hardly anyone understands it because virtually everyone, all y'all, have been taught a tactic-based way of marketing versus principle-based. I see it in everyone's emails, their ads, their advice, and it's killing everyone's sales. Jonathan, I stand behind that comment. I really believe this. I can just tell you, there is a time for tactics, but everything should be within principles. So the example I'm giving, I have the principle of I want to learn my market first. It starts with them. Then I will find out what I want to say to them. Not come in, do I need to agitate people or whatever? Do I need to use scarcity or social proof? That's all tactic. You use that stuff, but only until you have the principle behind which you're working figured out. And principle-based stuff is what I teach in email players. It's what I teach in my daily emails. It's what I teach in my Copy Slacker product. It's what I teach in all my products. Everything's principle-based first. Then I go into the tactic stuff. It's just how it works, Jonathan. It works better than anything I've ever done. There's only one copywriter I know, like copywriting teacher, I should say. I'm sure there's other copywriters who study Jim Camp, but there's only one like big name copywriting coach that I know who studies Jim Camp even more than I do, and that's David Garfinkel. Him and I have had discussions about this. He was actually a private coaching student of Jim Camp. So He knows this stuff, way better than I ever will probably. And it's interesting because we were talking we don't know so many people who come at it this way. Everybody comes at it with tactics. And they wonder why they're always struggling, why they're having to go into Facebook and ask questions like this. How do I do that? You wouldn't have to even ask these questions if you had the principles down. That's my whole point. So principles versus tactics. And I think that's enough for today, Jonathan. I'm tired of giving away all this free advice.
Uh-oh.
Next week,
you're going to start charging?
We're going to talk about... I said, we're doing another membership site. Screw this. We're doing it. elBenbo's next apprentice. I don't know. Oh, man. God, and by the way, that's another thing I want to say, Jonathan. While I have everybody's undivided attention, I'm not interested in having any more apprentices. So every time people keep asking me this, constantly, Ben, do you need a new apprentice? Or do you want a copy cub, wherever they call it? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want any of that stuff. I can barely take care of myself. I don't want to have to look after someone else. It's just the way it goes. So next week, Jonathan, I'm going to get all Wing Chun Kung Fu on your asses. I'm going to talk about that and a very, very important business principle that I learned from it. And I'm opening that loop and I'll close it next week. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So there you go.
There it is. Another bensettle.com show in the can. We'll be back with you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To get your hands on a free issue of Ben Settle's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, simply go to www.bensettle.com.
This is the podcastfactory.com.